She answered the wrong number, and an irresistible billionaire started calling her every night. Hello, everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, it is free, and it is the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories like this one. Your support truly means the world to us. Where are you watching from today? Please drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us go back to our main character. It is just past 10:30 on a quiet Tuesday night. The kind of night where the city finally exhales. Traffic thins. Sirens fade into the distance. Inside a modest one-bedroom apartment, the lights are low and warm, casting soft shadows across secondhand furniture and a coffee table scattered with unopened mail. She is curled up on the couch, barefoot, her phone resting face down beside her. The television plays, but she is not really watching. Her mind drifts between tomorrow's early shift and the familiar weight of silence that settles in when the day is done. Then her phone vibrates. She reaches for it without thinking, expecting a reminder or a message from work. Instead, she sees an unfamiliar number. No name, no preview, just digits she does not recognize. She hesitates. Normally, she would let it ring. But her mother works late nights at a hospital across town, and sometimes calls from new extensions. With a quiet sigh, she answers. Hello? There is a pause on the other end, long enough that she wonders if the call has dropped. Then a man's voice comes through, calm but uncertain, smooth yet edged with fatigue. I am sorry. I think I may have the wrong number. I was trying to reach someone named Claire. She blinks, already shaking her head. I am not Claire, she says gently. You definitely have the wrong number. Another pause. This one different. He does not hang up right away. Oh, I apologize for disturbing you, he replies. I should not have called this late. It is fine, she says, surprised at herself for softening her tone. No harm done. She expects the call to end there. A simple mistake. A forgettable moment. But instead, he lets out a quiet breath, almost a laugh, though there is no humor in it. Thank you for answering anyway, he says. Most people do not. Before she can respond, the line goes dead. She stares at her phone for a moment, then sets it back on the table. The television hums on. The silence returns. Yet something feels slightly off, as if a window has been cracked open and not fully closed. She brushes it off and heads to bed. The next night, at almost the exact same time, her phone vibrates again. The same number. Her first instinct is annoyance. Her second is curiosity. She answers. Hello? It is him. I promise I am not calling Claire again, he says quickly, as if worried she might hang up. I just wanted to ask if it is all right that I called back. She sits up a little straighter. Why are you calling me? She asks, not unkindly. Another pause. Longer this time. Honestly, he says, I am not entirely sure. You were kind last night, and I realized I did not say thank you properly. She exhales, half amused, half wary. You tracked my number just to say thank you? I suppose I did, he admits. If this is inappropriate, please tell me, and I will not call again. There is something about the way he says it. Not entitled. Not smooth. Just honest. It is late, she says slowly. But you can say thank you now. Thank you, he says. Truly. Silence stretches between them, neither quite ready to end the call. She glances around her apartment, at the quiet walls, the ticking clock, the empty space. So, she says, breaking the moment, who is Claire? He laughs softly this time. Someone I am supposed to call when I cannot sleep, he says. Apparently, I dialed one number off. She smiles, even though he cannot see it. Well, I am not Claire, she reminds him. I know, he says. But tonight, I think that is all right. They talk for 5 minutes. Then 10. About nothing important. About music he listens to when he drives at night. About how she likes her coffee too sweet and too strong. About how the city feels loneliest when it is quiet. Before hanging up, he asks a simple question. Did anyone treat you kindly today? She is caught off guard. I think so, she answers after a moment. Why? Because it matters, he says. Good night. When the call ends, she sits there, phone still in her hand, heart beating just a little faster than before. She tells herself it is just a coincidence. A wrong number. A harmless conversation. She does not yet know that this mistake is about to become a nightly ritual, and that the man on the other end of the line is not at all who he seems. The calls do not stop after that night. They become part of the rhythm of her evenings, slipping into her life so quietly that she barely notices when they turn from coincidence into routine. Almost every night, just after 10:30, her phone vibrates with the same unfamiliar number. And almost every night, she answers. She never saves the contact. Not with a name. Not even with a label. It remains just a string of numbers, anonymous and oddly comforting at the same time. During the day, her life looks ordinary from the outside. She wakes up early, makes coffee in a chipped mug, and joins the slow river of commuters moving through the city. Her job is steady but unglamorous. She listens more than she speaks. She solves small problems that never make headlines. By the time she clocks out, her energy is spent, and the quiet of her apartment greets her like an old, familiar truth. At night, however, something changes. The man on the other end of the line never calls too early, never too late. He never rushes her, and he never pushes for more than she offers. When she misses a call, he leaves no message. When she answers, he always begins the same way. Is this still all right? And every time, she surprises herself by saying yes. They talk about the kinds of things people usually keep to themselves. Not secrets exactly, but small truths. He admits that he hates large gatherings, even though people assume he thrives in them. She admits that she often feels invisible in rooms full of noise. He tells her that he drives at night when he cannot sleep, windows down, music low, pretending he is just another car on the road. She tells him she sometimes sits on her fire escape to feel the air move, just to remind herself that the world is still there. He never tells her what he does for a living. Not directly. When she asks, he gives answers that feel intentionally vague. I work with people, he says once. I make decisions that affect others. That sounds heavy, she replies. It can be, he admits. Some days more than others. She tells him about her mother, about growing up watching someone work double shifts without complaint, about learning early how to be responsible, how to be quiet, how to take up as little space as possible. He listens. He does not interrupt. When she finishes, he does not rush to reassure her. That must have been lonely, he says instead. The word lands softly but accurately. Yes, she answers. It was. Over time, she notices patterns. He always calls from somewhere quiet. Never background noise, never other voices. He never complains about money, but he also never talks about worrying over bills. When she mentions struggling with rent increases and grocery prices, he listens closely, almost too closely, as if storing every word. Sometimes, the calls are light. They joke about bad television shows and argue playfully about the best late-night snacks. Other times, the silence stretches between them, filled only by breathing. And strangely, that silence does not feel awkward. It feels shared. One night, after a particularly exhausting day, she answers the phone already tired. Rough day? He asks. She does not know how he knows, but she does not deny it. I felt like I did everything right and still ended up wrong, she says. He exhales slowly. That feeling does not go away just because life looks successful from the outside, he says. She pauses. Is that how your life looks? She asks. Successful? Another long pause. The longest yet. Yes, he finally says. That is how it looks. And is it? She asks. Not always, he replies. Not in the ways that matter. She finds herself thinking about him during the day, wondering what he looks like, what his hands do when he is not holding the phone, whether his voice matches his face. She catches herself smiling at her screen when the number appears, then quickly looks around, embarrassed even though no one is there to see. One night, she asks him something she has been holding back. Why do you keep calling me? He does not answer right away. Because when I talk to you, he says carefully, I do not have to be anything else. The words settle between them, heavy and sincere. She understands then that this connection, born from a simple mistake, is becoming something neither of them planned. Something fragile, something real. And neither of them yet realizes how much that fragility will matter when the truth finally arrives. By the third week, the calls are no longer something she waits for without admitting it. They have become a quiet agreement neither of them ever spoke out loud. 10:30. Every night. If one of them cannot call, the other somehow senses it and does not feel offended. There is a strange respect in the silence, a mutual understanding that this connection is fragile and should not be forced. She starts to prepare for the calls without realizing it. She washes her mug before sitting down, even though she will only drink water. She lowers the lights. She sits in the same spot on the couch, knees pulled close, phone resting against her ear like it belongs there. The rest of the apartment fades when his voice comes through. One night, she notices something new. "You always ask me the same question before we hang up," she says. "Do I?" He replies. She smiles. "You always ask if anyone treated me kindly that day." There is a pause. "Not the uncertain kind. The thoughtful kind." "That is because kindness is easy to miss," he says. "And when people stop noticing it, something in them hardens." She considers that. "What about you?" she asks. "Did anyone treat you kindly today?" He laughs quietly. "You are the first person who has asked me that in a long time." That becomes another unspoken ritual. They ask each other that question every night. Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes it is no. Sometimes it comes with a story. Sometimes it comes with silence that says more than words. As the weeks pass, small details begin to surface. He always calls from a different location, but it is always quiet. A car parked somewhere high above the city. A room with no echo. Once, she hears the faint hum of an elevator in the background, then nothing. When she asks, he brushes it off. "I move around a lot," he says. She never hears a television, never another person. It strikes her how alone he sounds despite the confidence in his voice. On her side, life continues with its steady challenges. A coworker quits, doubling her workload. Rent inches up again. She skips dinner some nights without telling anyone, telling herself it is temporary. He listens closely when she talks about it. His questions careful, never intrusive. "Do you feel safe where you live?" he asks once. "Yes," she says quickly. "It is small, but it is mine." "That is good," he replies. "That matters." One evening, after a particularly long call, she does something impulsive. "Tomorrow is my day off," she says. "I usually do not talk to anyone on my days off." He hesitates. "Then maybe we should not talk tomorrow," he says, half serious. "You should enjoy the quiet." She shakes her head, even though he cannot see it. "I want to talk to you," she admits. There is a softness in his voice when he answers. "Then call me when you wake up," he says. "I will answer." The next morning, sunlight spills across her apartment earlier than usual. She wakes with a strange sense of anticipation, the kind she has not felt in years. She makes coffee, sits by the window, and dials his number. He answers on the second ring. "Good morning," he says, his voice lower, unguarded. They talk while the city wakes up. About nothing important. About how mornings feel different when there is nowhere to rush to. About how she likes her eggs slightly overcooked. About how he rarely allows himself slow mornings. At one point, she laughs and says something without thinking. "You know, if someone heard us, they would think we know each other really well." He goes quiet. "Do we not?" he asks. She does not answer right away. The question feels heavier than it should. "I guess we do," she finally says. In a way, that night, something shifts. He tells her about a memory he has never shared with anyone. About being young and believing that success would eventually bring peace. About reaching milestones that were supposed to make him feel complete, only to feel more isolated with each one. "People assume things about me," he says. "They think I do not need anyone." She presses her lips together. "Everyone needs someone," she says. Even if it is just a voice at the end of the line. When the call ends, she realizes how much space he has begun to occupy in her life. How the mistake of answering the wrong number has quietly rewritten her evenings. And somewhere across the city, in a place far more luxurious than she could imagine, he sits alone with his phone in his hand, aware that he is crossing a line he cannot uncross. Because he knows who he is. And he knows that when the truth comes out, this gentle, unseen bond may not survive it. By the time the fourth week arrives, the calls no longer feel like accidents or distractions. They feel intentional, even if neither of them has said the word out loud. She notices it first in the smallest ways. She starts checking the clock around 10:20, pretending she is only curious about the time. When her phone vibrates, there is a flicker of relief before she answers, as if something has fallen back into place. His voice, steady and familiar now, fills the quiet of her apartment like background music she did not realize she needed. One night, after a longer silence than usual, he says something different. "I have been thinking about something," he begins. She shifts on the couch, sensing the weight in his tone. "That sounds dangerous," she says lightly. He smiles, she can hear it. "Do you ever wonder what it would be like to talk without a screen between us?" he asks. Her heart stutters, just slightly. What do you mean? She asks, though she already knows. I mean meeting, he says. Just once. No expectations. No pressure. Just to see if the voice matches the person. She looks around her apartment, as if the walls might overhear. I do not know, she admits. What if it ruins this? That is my fear too, he says quietly. They sit with that truth for a moment. The connection they have built is fragile precisely because it exists in the dark, free from appearances and assumptions. Bringing it into the light feels risky. We could choose a place, she says slowly. Somewhere neutral. Like coffee? He suggests. Coffee is safe, she agrees. They talk logistics without committing. Days of the week. Neighborhoods. Nothing specific. It feels like circling something they are both afraid to touch. Over the next few nights, their conversations deepen in ways that surprise her. He asks about her childhood, not just the facts but how it felt. She tells him about learning to be independent early, about carrying quiet responsibilities that were never officially hers. He listens with an attentiveness that makes her feel seen, not pitted. In return, he lets more slip about himself. He talks about pressure without naming its source, about decisions that cannot be undone, about being surrounded by people who need things from him, yet never asking how he is holding up. Sometimes I feel like I am performing my own life, he says one night. Like if I stop moving, everything will collapse. She swallows. You do not have to perform here, she tells him. You are just a person to me. The words linger between them, honest and unguarded. He exhales. That is exactly why this scares me, he admits. As the days pass, she starts to imagine him more clearly. Not what he looks like, but how he moves through space. She imagines his hands wrapped around a coffee cup, his posture when he listens. She wonders if he would be taller than she expects or softer than his voice suggests. One afternoon, during her lunch break, she receives a text from him for the first time. Just one line. Are you free this weekend? Her pulse quickens. She stares at the message longer than necessary before replying. Maybe. Why? There is a pause before his response. There is a cafe near the river. Quiet. No crowds. We could just sit. If you change your mind, that is all right. She rereads the message, appreciating the care in his words. The way he leaves her an exit. I will think about it, she replies. That evening, when he calls, the air between them feels charged. You do not have to say yes, he reminds her. I know, she says. But I am not saying no. He chuckles softly. That feels like progress. They talk late into the night, circling around the possibility without naming it again. When they finally hang up, she lies awake longer than usual, staring at the ceiling, imagining a face to match the voice that has become so familiar. Across the city, he sits alone in a place far removed from her modest apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook a skyline lit like a constellation. His phone rests in his hand, the screen. Dark now. He knows what she does not. That if they meet, there will be no way to hide the truth forever. That his world, once visible, will cast a long shadow over the simplicity they share. Yet for the first time in years, he wants to be known for something other than his name, his status, his wealth. He wants to be known as the man who asked, every night, whether someone had been kind to her. And as the weekend approaches, both of them feel it. The quiet understanding that the next step will change everything, whether they are ready or not. The cafe by the river looks exactly like she imagined it would. Quiet, modest, tucked between a bike path and a row of old trees just beginning to turn with the season. When she arrives, the air smells like roasted coffee beans and damp leaves. Sunlight reflects off the water in slow, broken patterns. She almost turns around. Not because she does not want to be there, but because stepping inside feels like crossing an invisible line. Once she does, whatever they have will no longer exist only in the safety of voices and pauses. She takes a breath and pushes the door open. The cafe is nearly empty. A barista wipes down the counter. A couple sits by the window, speaking in low voices. She scans the room, her heart beating louder with every second. Then she sees him. He is seated at a small table near the back, hands folded loosely around a paper cup. He looks up the moment she enters, as if he has been watching the door the entire time. For a split second, neither of them moves. The first thing that strikes her is not his face, but his posture. Calm, controlled, too composed for a casual coffee meeting. He stands when he sees her, instinctive, polished. She recognizes the voice before anything else. Hi, he says. It sounds the same. And somehow, completely different. Hi. She replies, her voice quieter than usual. They smile at each other, a little unsure. The space between them feels charged, filled with weeks of conversations that now have nowhere to hide. They sit. Up close, she notices details she could never hear through the phone. The way his eyes seem older than his smile. The faint tension in his jaw, like someone who is used to carrying weight without showing it. You look exactly like your voice, she says, surprising herself. He laughs softly. I was hoping you would say that. They talk about safe things at first. The river, the weather, the coffee. It feels almost awkward, like they are strangers trying to remember how to be polite. But then something shifts. She asks him about his drive there. He answers honestly. He asks her about her week. She tells him about a long shift and a customer who thanked her for listening. The familiar rhythm returns, settling between them. For a moment, it feels like nothing has changed. Then it happens. The door opens again. The bell above it chimes sharply. Two men step inside, scanning the room. They are dressed too well for a lazy afternoon, their movements efficient, purposeful. She notices them glance toward his table. He notices her notice. His shoulders tense. He looks at his watch, then back at her. I need to step outside for just a moment, he says. I am sorry. Before she can respond, one of the men approaches. Sir, we have been trying to reach you, the man says quietly, though his voice carries. The word sir lands heavily. Her stomach tightens. The man continues, clearly unaware of her. The board meeting has been moved up. The car is waiting. The cafe seems to shrink around her. She looks at him. Really looks at him now. The careful way he stands. The way the man waits for his response. The subtle authority in his silence. Board meeting. Car waiting. Her mind connects dots she had not wanted to see. I will be right there, he says calmly. The man nods and steps away. When he turns back to her, his expression has changed. Still gentle, but guarded now. As if a curtain has been pulled back. I did not plan for this, he says quietly. She does not answer. So this is your life? She says instead. He exhales slowly. Yes. The word carries more than its meaning. She pushes her chair back slightly, creating space. You said you wanted to see if the voice matched the person, she says. You did not mention this part. I was afraid if I did, you would not come, he admits. That stings more than she expects. So you let me walk into it blind. She says. He nods, not denying it. I wanted one place where I was not this, he says, gesturing vaguely. One place where I could just be a man having coffee. She studies him, the man she knows and the man she is just meeting colliding in front of her. I do not mind who you are, she says carefully. I mind that you chose when I got to know. Silence stretches between them, thick and uncomfortable. The men near the door wait patiently, checking their watches. I never lied about how I felt, he says. No, she agrees. You just left out the part that changes everything. She stands. I need time, she says. This is a lot. I understand, he replies, though his eyes say otherwise. She hesitates, then adds softly. I meant what I said. About you being just a person to me. I just need to decide if I can still believe that. She walks out of the cafe without looking back, the bell chiming sharply behind her. He watches her go, standing alone by the table, the untouched coffee growing cold. For the first time since the wrong number call, the distance between them feels real. And neither of them knows if it can be crossed again. The silence after that afternoon stretches longer than either of them expects. That night, 10:30 comes and goes without a call. She sits on her couch, phone face up on the table, pretending she is not watching the clock. When the screen stays dark, a familiar ache settles in her chest. Not sharp, just heavy, the kind that comes from something unfinished. Across the city, he stands in front of floor-to-ceiling windows, city lights spread beneath him like a second sky. His phone is in his hand, thumb hovering over her number. He does not press it. For the first time since the wrong number call, he understands that wanting something does not mean he is entitled to it. The days that follow are quiet. She goes to work. She smiles at customers. She listens to coworkers complain about things that suddenly feel very far away. At night, she catches herself reaching for her phone, then stopping. She tells herself she needs space. She tells herself that this is what honesty looks like. He throws himself back into meetings and obligations. People talk at him. All day, expecting answers, expecting confidence. No one asks how he is sleeping. No one asks if anyone treated him kindly. A week later, their worlds collide again. Her supervisor asks if she can help cover an evening shift at a downtown event. It pays extra, and she needs the money. She agrees without asking many questions. The venue is elegant. Too elegant. Crystal lights. White tablecloths. Men in tailored suits and women in sleek dresses move through the space with practiced ease. She feels underdressed, but she keeps her head down and focuses on her job. Then she hears his voice. Not through a phone this time. Through a microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight," he says. His tone is calm, assured, unmistakable. Her breath catches. She looks up. He stands at the front of the room, perfectly composed, the kind of presence that commands attention without demanding it. Behind him, a large screen displays his name and title in clean, bold letters. Founder, Chief Executive Officer, Billionaire Philanthropist. The words blur together. This is not a private moment interrupted by circumstance. This is the truth, displayed in public. Applause fills the room. She stands frozen, a tray in her hands, heart pounding. Everything clicks into place. The quiet spaces. The guarded answers. The loneliness hidden behind confidence. He scans the room as he speaks, then his eyes find hers. Just for a second. The recognition is instant. The shock on his face is subtle, but she sees it. He did not expect this. Not like this. Their eye contact breaks, but the moment lingers. Throughout the evening, she keeps her distance. She watches him from the edges of the room, noticing how easily people gravitate toward him, how often they ask for things, how rarely they look past what he represents. She realizes then that his fear was not of being discovered. It was of being seen differently. When the event ends, the room slowly empties. She gathers her things, ready to leave without saying anything. But as she steps toward the exit, she hears her name. She turns. He stands a few feet away, jacket off now, tie loosened, the public version of him carefully set aside. "I did not know you would be here," he says quietly. "Neither did I," she replies. They stand in an awkward space between what they were and what they are now. "You should have told me," she says. "Not today, not in a cafe, but before any of this became real." "I know," he says. "I was wrong." She studies him, the weight of the room pressing in. "Did any of it matter?" she asks. "Or was I just somewhere you could hide?" His answer is immediate. "It mattered. You mattered. More than anything else in my life during those weeks." Her throat tightens. "Then why does this feel like I was the only one who did not know what I was walking into?" she asks. "Because I was afraid," he says simply. "Afraid that if you knew, you would hear everything I said differently." She considers that. "You took away my choice," she says softly. "Even if you did not mean to." He nods, accepting it. "I cannot undo that," he says. "All I can do is tell you the truth now." The room around them fades. "Every night I asked if anyone treated you kindly." He continues, his voice low. "Because no one ever asked me that. And you reminded me that kindness still exists when no one is watching." She exhales slowly. "I need time," she says again. "Not to punish you, but to understand if what we had can survive the truth." He does not argue. "Take all the time you need," he says. "I will not call unless you ask me to." She nods, then turns and walks away. As she steps into the night air, the city feels louder than before. Brighter. More complicated. Behind her, he watches her go, knowing that this reveal has changed the shape of everything. Because now, there are no wrong numbers. Only a choice that has yet to be made. The days that follow feel heavier than the silence before. She does not block his number, but she does not call. At night, she leaves her phone on the kitchen counter instead of the couch, as if distance can be measured in feet. 10:30 comes. Then 10:40. Then 11. The familiar vibration never arrives. She tells herself this is what she asked for. During the day, she moves through her routines with practiced ease. She answers questions. She smiles when expected. She nods at the right moments. But beneath it all, there is a quiet fracture she cannot ignore. Everywhere she goes, she starts noticing things she never paid attention to before. The price of coffee in certain neighborhoods. The way security guards open doors for some people and not others. The invisible lines that separate one life from another. She thinks of him constantly, and that makes her angry. Not because he is wealthy, but because he chose when she got to know the truth. Across the city, he keeps his promise. He does not call. Each night, he sits alone with the same restraint he once used to hide. Meetings stretch long. Conversations blur together. People congratulate him, praise him, thank him for his time. None of it reaches the place she once occupied. One evening, she finally allows herself to listen to the voicemail he left the night after the gala. She had not deleted it. She had not listened either. She plays it once. Then again. Not for the words, but for the tone. The familiar pause before he speaks. The careful way he chooses honesty without pressure. It hurts more than she expects. A few days later, they run into each other by accident. She is leaving work early, rain soaking through her jacket, when she nearly collides with him under the awning of a closed storefront. He looks just as surprised as she feels. "I did not expect to see you here," he says. "Neither did I," she replies. They stand there, rain falling hard enough to force closeness neither of them asked for. "You look tired," she says before she can stop herself. He smiles faintly. "I have been." They talk for a few minutes. Polite. Careful. Like people who know too much about each other to pretend they are strangers. Then she says what has been sitting in her chest for days. "I need to be honest with you." He nods. "If we keep going," she continues, "it cannot be like before. I cannot be your quiet place. I cannot be the person you escaped to from your life." He listens without interrupting. "I do not want to feel like a secret," she adds. "Or like something that only exists when it is convenient." "You were never a secret to me," he says quickly. "But I was kept in the dark," she replies. "And that matters." The words land, heavy but true. He lowers his gaze. "You are right," he says. "I wanted you to know me without the noise, but I did not think about what it would cost you." They stand there, rain filling the space where certainty used to be. "I need to choose myself right now," she says. "That means stepping back." He nods slowly. "I understand," he says, "and I will respect that." She hesitates, then asks the question she has been avoiding. "Did any of it change how you see people?" She asks, being anonymous. "Talking to me like that." His answer is immediate. "Yes," he says. "It changed everything." She exhales. "Then maybe it was not a mistake," she says softly. "Even if it does not last." He watches her closely. "I hope this is not the end," he says. She meets his eyes. "So do I. But it cannot continue like this." They part without promises. That night, she finally turns her phone off. Not in anger, not in fear, but because sometimes distance is the only way to hear what your heart is actually saying. And somewhere across the city, he sits alone again, knowing that the hardest lesson he has learned did not come from losing money or power. It came from realizing that honesty delayed can feel exactly like betrayal, even when love was real. The turning point does not come with a dramatic call or a grand interruption. It arrives quietly. Weeks pass. She settles into a new rhythm. Evenings feel longer now, emptier, but also clearer. Without the nightly calls, she notices how much space she had given away without realizing it. She starts filling that space deliberately, reading again, taking longer walks after work, saying no when she needs to. And slowly, something inside her steadies. Across the city, he does something he has never done before. He stops hiding. Not in headlines, not in press releases, but in the small, deliberate choices that shape his days. He shortens meetings that do not matter. He listens instead of directing. He asks questions he once avoided. One night, while sorting through old messages on his phone, he finds the first voicemail she ever left him. It is nothing special, just her apologizing for missing a call, laughing softly, saying she hoped he was all right. He listens to it 3 times. Then he makes a decision. He does not call her. Instead, he writes. The message is not long. It is not polished. It does not ask for forgiveness or promise a future. It simply tells the truth. He tells her that he has stopped using anonymity as a shield, that he has spoken openly, for the first time, about how isolating his life has been, that he understands now that what they shared was not a place to escape, but a place that demanded respect. He writes that he has learned something important. That connection built on silence still carries responsibility. At the end, there is no question, no request, only one line. If you ever want to talk again, it will be with nothing hidden. She reads the message once. Then again. She does not respond right away. That night, she sleeps without turning her phone off. The following evening, she does something unexpected. She dials his number. He answers on the first ring. Hello, he says, his voice steady but careful. Hello, she replies. There is a pause. Familiar. Different. I am calling because I am ready to talk, she says. Not because I missed the calls, but because I believe you heard what I needed. I did, he says. And I am listening. They meet again days later, this time without surprise or interruption. A simple walk along the river. No suits. No assistants. No audience. Just two people standing in the open. I do not need you to be smaller, she tells him. I need you to be honest. I can do that, he says, even when it costs me comfort. She studies his face, searching for the man she heard every night. I am not asking for certainty, she continues. I am asking for choice. For both of us. He nods. Then we start here, he says. As equals. No wrong numbers. No hiding. She smiles, just a little. That sounds fair. They walk on, side by side, the city moving around them. Not rushing. Not escaping. Just choosing, for the first time, to meet each other in the light. It does not end with a grand announcement or a sudden promise. It ends the way it began. Quietly. Intentionally. Months pass, and their connection grows in a way that feels steady rather than urgent. They do not rush to define it. They do not rush to explain it to anyone else. They allow it to exist in real time, shaped by daylight conversations instead of late-night whispers. They still talk often, just not only at night anymore. Some evenings they walk along the river, sharing stories that no longer need anonymity to feel safe. Other times they sit across from each other in small cafes, blending in with the quiet crowd. He listens more than he speaks. She notices how carefully he chooses honesty now, even when it costs him ease. There are moments when the difference between their worlds becomes visible again. Invitations he declines. Rooms she chooses not to enter. But instead of ignoring those moments, they name them. This is new for both of them. One evening, as they sit on a park bench watching the city lights come on one by one, she brings up the past. Do you ever think about how this started? She asks. He smiles softly. Every day, he admits. A wrong number. A mistake. She considers that. I used to think mistakes were things to undo, she says. Things to apologize for and move past. And now? He asks. Now I think some mistakes are invitations, she says. They ask you to pay attention. He nods, understanding exactly what she means. There is no proposal that night. No dramatic declaration. Just a shared silence filled with something solid and earned. Weeks later, she finds herself back in her apartment, sitting on the same couch where it all began. The furniture is the same. The light is the same. But she is not. Her phone vibrates. 10:30. She smiles before answering. Hello, she says. Hello, he replies. There is warmth in his voice now. Not escape, not longing. Just presence. Did anyone treat you kindly today? He asks. She looks around her apartment, then out the window at the city beyond. Yes, she says. I think I was treated kindly. That night, when the call ends, she does not feel the ache she once did. She feels grounded. Because this time, the voice at the other end of the line belongs to someone who stands fully in the open. And somewhere across the city, he sets his phone down and realizes something he never understood before. That the richest thing he has ever gained did not come from building an empire. It came from answering a call he was never meant to make. A simple mistake. One that taught them both that love does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes, it just asks you to pick up the phone.